Today we are going for a virtual visit to Airorchids and Lab in Thailand. Not a few years back, this was a simple nursery producing and selling orchids. But in recent years, it has developed into a mega nursery project, giving the nursery business an entire new definition. Airorchids has expanded to a plant supermarket, tissue culture lab, and one of the largest orchid exporters in Thailand. Now let us have a look inside how this aerobic lab looks like. So we are here in the cash counter of the supermarket, which is actually a supermarket only and exclusively for the plants. So this is something which is quite new and the concept is quite new, and you can see a lot of people coming out here and shopping plants and taking back home. Now this is the plant showroom where we can see a plethora of different kinds of plants, right from different types of orchids to various other types of plants like air plants and succulents and different kinds of exotic tropical ferns and whatnot. So this is the place where people come and see those plants and select them all there by themselves and then take it to the cash counter and buy them. Can see that this is not a typical plant nursery that we are actually habituated in seeing. This is rather like a regular supermarket where people go to buy necessary daily items for use and not plants. So to make it something like a supermarket, they have made this special kind of installations, and you can see at the top that there are foggers installed so that the plants can be kept humid and have a proper aeration as well. So, okay, the showroom part. Now let us go inside and see how the actual nursery looks like. So right now we have come to the mother block of the orchids collection that they have, and here you can see that the mother plants of mainly the orchids dendrobiums and other varieties like mocara and vanda can be seen, and they are being kept at a top condition in which they will be thriving at the best. Now we are going to take a tour in a vehicle which is specially available for the customers to avail the long stretches of nursery so that they don't get tired. So right now we are going through it, and you can see that on the both sides there are huge collections of mother plants of the dendrobium orchids, and you can see very well that how they are being maintained. They have been put in an elevated structure, and below that you can see the amount of water which is being stored. Water is actually for the purpose of keeping those dendrobium orchids in a moist condition, because the dendrobium orchids are tropical orchids and they love to have be always in a very humid condition. So they are kept over there in bigger pots, and so that they can become more robust, and it will be easier for them to take explants from there and take them to the tissue culture lab for more multiplication. You can see the passages in between the beds of orchids so that it becomes easier for them to maintain, as well as for the ease of customers navigation so that they can go close to those plants and select those plants for their order. So this has both the purposes of having maintaining the mother rock, as well as maintaining and showing the customers the display that is rather for the plants to be ordered. So we saw the mother block, and now we come to the cut flower section of the air orchids. So right now what we see is the Mocara cut flower unit, and the way the plants have been kept, they are just cuttings. They are known as stock cuttings, and they actually thrive in this way because Mocara orchids are nothing but epiphytes. So you don't need any media and potting mixture or anything. So they can thrive like this only. Basically, Mocara orchids are very easy to maintain because you can see that they are nothing but a cutting of the stem, and they are just been tied up and hanged, and with proper foliar fertilization and proper fertigation and proper scheduling of fertilizers, they will be flowering in no time, and then you can harvest and wait for another season for their flowering. Okay, so now we have come to another Mocara orchid cut flower section, and we can see over here that the flowers are already blooming, and on the top please observe the shed net that they have been using, and as per the owner, it is the 50% shed net that they've used. So you can understand that mokaras don't love sunshine, direct sunshine rather totally, and neither they are actually a good fan of poly houses because there's too much temperature over there. So it's better to keep them in the shed houses. Now we come to the tissue cultured orchids hardening unit. So this is the place where these plants come after being tissue cultured, and this is the place where the babies will be growing into adults and then being sent to the open markets for sale and display. So you can see the vast extents of the shed nets, and that is the only structure, only some pillars and shed nets at the top. The specialities of the epiphytic orchids like dendrobiums and vandas and mucaras is that they do not need any kind of potting mixture, but they need the roots to grow down. That is the reason why most of them, or rather all of them, are actually grown in these elevated structures with pockets so that the plants are kept in coconut husk and put over there. We can see over here the secondary hardened dendrobium orchids which are being taken from the secondary hardening units to the display showroom so that there can be nurtured further to become mature plants which will be put up for sale. You can see that there are coconut husk around the young roots because coconut has an excellent quality of retaining moisture which is going to help those little plants to become more sturdy. This is the place where the packing of the entire plants ordered from different countries are being packed for phytosanitary certification and then by exporting. So this is the place from where the orchids are going to India, to the European countries, and you can see that they have a separate place for the packing itself because that is itself a very huge task. Section needs a special mention because these are not the typical dendrobiums but the vanda orchids, and they have this special kind of hanging structures because their roots, as you can see, grow too much and they are in huge quantities, so they need to be having enough space below so that they can move and they can get the aeration in the freeway. So they have specially constructed these structures keeping in mind the vandas. A small cafeteria which is a part of the supermarket, and this is exclusively the way they conduct the business. They are actually having a refreshment area so that whenever people become tired doing so much of plant shopping they can come and rest and have a little bit of drinks and snacks and then they can again start shopping. So this is basically how the business strategy has been formulated. So this is something which is very inspiring. We come to the end of our virtual tour, and again we are back to the same place from where we started, that is the cash counter. So what we can learn from this supermarket is something which is quite unique, and if those people can do, why not people from a country like India where there's so much of population and so much demand on plants as well. So we can have something like that which can be of great example for. Orchids have a great demand all over the world, so India being no exception. There's a huge potential for the market in the cut flower section as well as the potted plants. So if we can construct something like that, it will be a very good business opportunity for whoever is going to take up.